Hi everyone, we are having a little look at circles today, so looking at the properties of a circle and what basically makes it a circle. Now I know you think it might be quite obvious, but actually a circle is a special shape and it has got quite a few different properties, and that's what we are going to explore today. So here is a simple picture of a circle, and as you can see there's different parts of it labelled. So looking at the outside label, the arrow that goes all the way round, that is what we call the circumference. In a normal or a regular 2D shape, we would call that the perimeter, which is the length of the outside of the shape. In a circle, we call it circumference. If you look right in the middle where I've put the little red dot, that is what we would call the centre of the circle. The radius is that point from the centre out to the circumference. So the distance of the radius will be the exact same from the centre to the circumference at any point in the circle, whether it's pointing to the top, whether it's pointing to the bottom, diagonal, whatever way. As long as it's in the centre and it's going to the edge of the circumference, the radius will be the same length. If it's not, then it's not a true circle. All right. You've got the diameter that's labelled, which goes from one side of the circle all the way to the other side of the circle, and that is the distance across the circle through the centre. So it has to go through the centre. That little dot in the middle is very important. A couple of wee facts about it is the diameter is double the radius. So if you know the length of the diameter, you can calculate the radius. If you know what the length of the radius is, you can calculate the diameter. And roughly, thousands of years ago, people actually worked out that the circumference is approximately, so not spot on, but approximately 3 times the length of the diameter. So that means you can estimate what the circumference is if you know at least one of these properties. So if you know information for one, chances are you are going to be able to calculate all of them. So imagining all the part of the circle to the correct diagram. So we've got lots of different ones here, and I'm just going to go through it with you technically. So the first word we've got there is diameter. So remind yourself, what is the diameter? And we know that's the distance of the circle through the centre. So that must be pointing to the third picture with the yellow line. Circumference, have a think. So the circumference is the distance around the circle. So that must be pointing to the dotted line going around the edge. It's highlighting that circumference. Radius, we've spoken about the distance from the centre to the circumference. So it's not from one side to the other, it's from the centre to the circumference. So it's pointing at that red line. And finally the centre, which is super important when it comes to circles, is that pink little dot in the middle there. So these are 4 properties of the circle. If you can calculate one, you can calculate a lot. So let's have a look at how to calculate it. Now these pictures are also not to scale, but it's given us a little bit of a help. So I think there's pancakes there, and we're bringing our decimal knowledge in. So if we know the radius is 4.5, we can double that to find the diameter. Double 4.5 will take it to 9 centimetres. I wonder if you could figure out what roughly is the circumference of that. Let's look at the donut. 162 centimetres is the diameter. So to find the radius, we must half that. So half of 162 centimetres is 81, and we already know the diameter. Let's look at, I think it's a cricket ball or a baseball. It's going from one side to the other, so that must be the diameter. We know that's 3 centimetres, so we half that for the radius, which gives us 1.5 centimetres, and the diameter is 3 centimetres. And finally, this one is going to bring in a little bit more knowledge. That's not a circle there. However, we can use our knowledge of pizza or cake to know that that would have came from a circle. So if you look at that little point that's at the end, that would have been the centre of the circle. So what do you think that 5 centimetres is showing us? It's going from the centre to the circumference. That must be showing us the radius. So if we were to find the diameter, which is one side, through the centre to the other side of the circle, we would double that, taking us to 10 centimetres. So sometimes when it comes to circles, it's not as obvious as it seems, and you have to think a little bit outside the box. Okay, find the missing measurements in the table. So I'm going to let you calculate it. So if the radius is 4 centimetres, what would the diameter be? Take this to 8. If we know the diameter is 11 centimetres, have a go at calculating the radius. What do you think that might be? .5, half of 11 centimetres. And finally, if the radius is 6.5 centimetres, which is from the centre to the edge, that's 6.5, what might the diameter be? .13 centimetres. Well done if you got them right. If not, it's just a chance to practice. And that is us all finished now. So hopefully you can now tell me a little bit more about the properties of circles.